So if we're parenting in a place where we wish we had a manual for our kids and we totally don't, and we realize that the manual used to come in the form of our connections and our resources through our community, that is, there used to be somebody else nearby us who had already raised kids. We had also already had our own experience because as kids, we were helping out with younger kids. We were doing a lot of babysitting, and so we had more multi-age experience and caregiving experience. And in this moment where we're realizing how siloed we all are and we're wanting to reconnect, how do we do this? So especially if we're looking for some sort of parenting support, do we want to go to the people who raised us? I don't know. If you're like me, no. If you had a difficult relationship with your parents in the myriad of ways we can have difficult relationships with our parents, you probably don't want to go to them for advice. So then the question becomes, where do we find mentors? And I think that there's several ways to go about doing that, and the difficulty of each of these will kind of vary with other circumstances. So one is we really do start to build peer connections. And I think it's really important because I don't think somebody has to have all the answers to have some answer for you. And I think that's a place we fall into when we go looking for experts or people who are trained in child development or whatever, is that we can end up looking for the person that we think has all the answers, instead of just acknowledging that some of the people around us have some of the answers. It requires more effort on our part. It requires a lot of discernment about whether those pieces of advice match your values. And so it requires some sense of knowing where you're at with parenting and what you're trying to do and what the important pieces of parenting are for you. And so it does require some effort, but it's a great place to begin because we can really start to get a handle on what is important to us by knowing what we don't like that other people are recommending or that our peers are doing with their children. And we can flip that over, what I don't like them doing, flip that over. And that's the thing I'm longing for, wishing I could do, or wishing was in my wheelhouse or whatever. And so you can start to cultivate those by just being really aware of them. The other thing you can do is to look for a parent coach or parent mentor. I am a parent mentor, but what I think, and I don't think, again, that's not the only place you can do it, but I think if you want to go that route, unfortunately, it usually requires, some, interaction with finances. It's a financial way to engage in mentorship. But in that case, you're talking to somebody who's ahead of you, who has already been a parent, who has already gone through some of this and has some perspective from kind of going through the squeeze and kind of coming out the other side. The benefit to getting more of that perspective is that it integrates a little better, and so does some of that work for you that you don't get when you're looking to peers for some helpful information. But either way, I think it still requires some sort of orientation toward how am I parenting? What's important to me about parenting? What am I trying to impart to my children? And then finding someone who matches with you pretty well. So if things are feeling really tough right now and you're like, holy crap, where's the manual? You can start by kind of assessing how are your friends raising their children? What do you feel like they're doing that you would like to repeat or emulate? And what are they doing that might have some information for you about a value that is something you don't like that they're doing that you could turn over? And what I mean by that is when we notice the thing that we don't like, sometimes if we're I don't like that, you turn it over and you're well, if on the other side of I don't like that is, what do I like? What is important to me? If that thing is not a fit, then what would be a fit, right? And those things can be really helpful. So a little bit of, sitting down and journaling that out or something could be really helpful. And, also, I do think there are lots of good parenting mentors and coaches out there. And if you have one that you really like what they're talking about and what they think is important and the values that they're espousing and the things they're saying about parenting, then you can reach out to them too. So And that includes me. I do have some space for mentoring if the things I say are resonating for you. So good luck out there.